I hope that you enjoy what I've written today. I've never done a talk quite like this because I'm actually going to read you a story. So let's begin. An Episcopal priest, a Methodist minister, and a Southern Baptist preacher walked into a bar. This sounds like the beginning of a joke, but it's actually the beginning of the story. You see, these three men of God met weekly to discuss the problems and the great difficulties in serving in the clergy. Leading a flock of believers is hard task, especially when they constantly disappoint you at every turn. So, these ministers, they'd formed their own little weekly support group. Now, they usually met in the park, but it was August, and it was a very hot day. And so the Methodist minister said, "It's so hot today, let's go to the cafe across the street and have a drink. My wife and I, we just got back from Mexico, and I could use a good margarita." The Episcopal priest said, "Oh, that's a great idea. I've been reading up on Scotch. I'd like to try a new brand." The Southern Baptist preacher said, "Well, it is awfully hot. If there's no one else inside, I'll have a beer. But guarantee you this, it will be an American brewed beer." So across the street they went. But when they walked into the cafe, they were astonished to see that the bartender was none other than Jesus himself. He was going to be their bartender. And so Jesus said, "What do you have, boys?" The Episcopal spoke first. "Well, to be honest, I came here for a Scotch. But with your reputation, I'll have the wine." The Methodist quickly said, "Oh, me too." And then they turned and looked at the Southern Baptist, who asked, "Pardon me, Lord, but do you have a Welch's grape juice?" Jesus just rolled his eyes and said, "I'll make for you what I make for the others." And he did. Then Jesus asked, "Would the three of you like for me to tell you a story?" They all eagerly said yes. And so Jesus began. In a tranquil monastery nestled in a beautiful bamboo grove, there was a young monk whose heart burned with frustration. "Monk," the Baptist said. "Yes, monk," Jesus replied. "Take note. You'll see." This young monk was frustrated because he took his practice very seriously. But day after day, he watched his fellow monks in their practice, and instead of finding peace, he found himself consumed by irritation. Some of the monks moved too slowly during their group walking meditation. And during chants, some of them sang terribly off key. So instead of being at peace, he found himself irritated by their laziness. His mind had become a battlefield where he was constantly fighting for his own inner peace. Now, mind you, this young monk was not a casual seeker of spiritual growth. This young monk was very serious in his quest for enlightenment. Yet, here he was caught in a near constant state of agitation and disappointment with those around him. The very people who were supposed to be his spiritual companions in life had instead become a great and tremendous source of annoyance. One evening, after a particularly rough session of meditation, he could contain himself no longer. He got up and he left the monastery to find Buddha, who was sitting peacefully beside an ancient Bodhi tree. The moonlight filtered through the leaves and created exquisite patterns of light and shadow on Buddha's face. But even in the face of such tranquility, the young monk's agitation was just too much. "Master," he began, "I don't understand what is happening to me. I came here seeking peace, but I find myself constantly irritated by my fellow monks. Their laziness disturbs me. Their lack of focus frustrates me, and their casual attitude towards practice makes my blood boil. How can I develop patience when everything around me seems to test my limits?" Buddha listened with complete empathy, and his eyes held no judgment. He gestured for the young monk to sit. Buddha said, "Let me tell you a story about two monks who lived right here in this very bamboo grove. The first monk was earnest and dedicated, much like you. He rose before dawn for meditation. He studied faithfully and did every practice with absolute dedication. His intentions were pure, and his effort was great. Yet he struggled with frustration towards those who didn't seem to match his dedication. But the second monk was naturally calm and patient, and had a profound understanding of practice that his companion had not yet grasped. One windy evening, a storm blew through the bamboo grove. The wind howled through the trees, causing the bamboo stalks to creak and sway dramatically. Their leaves were clapping together loudly like clanging cymbals, making the young monk's meditation impossible. It was the final straw for what had already been a hard day. So he sat in his meditation posture, determined. But every rustle of the leaves sounded like a personal attack on his practice. He became increasingly angry that nature itself seemed to have conspired against his spiritual progress. So finally, he stood up and declared to his companion, "This is impossible. How can anyone meditate in these conditions? The wind is too strong. The bamboo leaves are too loud. I must find somewhere quieter to practice my meditation. This grove is ill-suited for spiritual growth." His patient companion, who had been sitting in perfect stillness throughout the storm, opened his eyes very slowly. His face showed no trace of the agitation that had consumed his friend. Instead, there was a gentle smile at the corners of his mouth, as if he had just discovered something beautiful. And when he spoke, his voice was calm and without judgment. "My friend, I hear the same wind that you hear, the same rustling bamboo. But I've learned we don't control the wind, and I cannot command the bamboo to be silent. All I can control is how I respond to what I cannot change. The sounds around me only become a disturbance when I decide to let them disturb me. Listen more carefully. The bamboo doesn't fight the wind, it moves with it. Its stalks dance in the power of the wind, and through movement, it shows grace and strength. It accepts the wind's power and never tries to avoid it. Its leaves are clapping together as if they are applauding and encouraging me. Together, the wind and the bamboo create a rhythm that reminds me I am alive. The same wind that agitates you has become music to me because I have learned to accept it rather than resist it. Buddha paused in his story, allowing the young monk sitting next to him to absorb what he had just said. You see, my friend, patience isn't about finding perfect conditions or waiting for other people to change to meet your Buddha's standards. True patience is the art of finding peace within chaos, stillness within movement, calmness in a storm. When we find this inner flexibility, we become like the bamboo. We are able to bend without breaking, to stay rooted in whatever conditions arise. Buddha paused again, and suddenly the young monk heard the crickets in the distance. He could hear a creak and then a bird singing. These sounds that would normally have been a distraction, an agitation, had suddenly become a symphony to his ears. The young monk got up and bowed to Buddha in appreciation. He went back to his meditation spot in the bamboo grove. While Jesus was telling this story, all three ministers had fallen quiet. A trance-like look had overtaken their face. And when he stopped talking, they awakened, and they looked up at him. And the light from the bar's track lighting filtered through the wine glasses hanging on the rack above him and created exquisite patterns of light and shadow on Jesus' face. The three got up and asked Jesus how much they owed him for the wine. He said, "It's on the house, boys, and you're welcome." All three men walked out that day changed. But once outside, the Southern Baptist turned back and stuck his head in the door of the bar and said, "Oh, by the way, Lord, I have to say, that was really good wine." Jesus just smiled and said, "Thank you, but it was only water." Thank you for letting me come today.